Picture this. You're a few minutes into your worship set. The music is powerful. People are singing. The room is filled. Then something happens. A medical emergency happens. A disruptive individual is in your side lobby, or you've got a parent that's in tears because they can't find their child. You've got 5 minutes to respond. The question is this: will you freeze or will you lead? In church security, the first 5 minutes of any emergency determines whether the situation is contained or chaotic, whether it ends in peace or ends in panic. So today on the Lead Security YouTube channel, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do in those critical first 5 minutes, no matter what kind of emergency you're dealing with. This is the kind of training that saves lives, protects your people, and brings order to the moment where everything could just be unraveling. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start this with a question. Why are the first 5 minutes so important? Because in those opening moments, people are watching. They're listening. They're reacting. That's when confusion can spread or confidence can take over. Most churches don't fail because they don't care. They fail because they aren't ready. There's no plan. There's no leadership. There's no communication. There's just a bunch of frozen faces and a bunch of hopeful prayers. Here's a truth I tell every team I train. You don't rise to the occasion. You always fall to the level of your training. That's why mastering these first 5 minutes matters. Because if your team knows what to do, they're going to do it. They're going to know how to do it. They're going to know how to work together. They don't have to improvise. They just simply execute. So today we're talking about a 5-step protocol for handling any church emergency in those first 5 minutes. And the first step is going to be to identify the type of emergency that you're dealing with. Before anybody panics or reacts emotionally, you need to assess what's actually happening. You got to ask, is this a medical emergency? Is there just a disruptive person? Do you have a violent threat? Are we dealing with a missing child? You don't need every detail right away. You need to quickly define the category, because the way you respond to a medical emergency isn't the same way you're going to respond to a violent individual. Misidentifying emergency wastes time, it causes confusion, and it causes delays. So we have to make sure we're identifying the right kind of emergency that we're dealing with. Now, the second step is going to be to communicate clearly and immediately. In emergencies, poor communication causes chaos. That's why our team needs to be trained to use radios, use some hand signals, and especially just some verbal cues with clarity and with calm. When you're on the radio or even just speaking generally, just tell people what's happening, where it's happening, and who is responding. Use those 3 as like your keys. Don't say things like, hey, I think we've got a situation, because that doesn't mean much of anything. Say, we've got a medical emergency, the front left of the sanctuary, and CPR has been started, AED is en route. Something like Code Adam, missing boy. He's 6 years old. He's got a blue shirt on and some jeans. The more direct and calm you are, the faster your team is going to be able to take meaningful action. Step 3 is going to be deploy the right people to the right roles. Every church should have a plan that already says something like, if this happens, these people do this. When a medical emergency happens, you send your CPR trained person in immediately.
Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive.
You can't tell by the way I use my...
Another person's going to be grabbing the AED or maybe your first aid kit. Somebody else is going to be meeting your EMS at the door. When there's a disruption, one team member is going to calmly engage the individual. Another person's going to be observing from a distance, watching hands, looking, just make sure things are staying cohesive, staying calm. The rest of the team is going to be aware of the situation, and they're going to position themselves near vulnerable areas like your kids' ministry entrances or exits. When a child goes missing, someone radios Code Adam. All exits get staffed immediately. Another person checks bathrooms and closets, and another person is going on your cameras to see if we can identify where this child has gone. You've got a calm, trained team member that's going to stay with the parent and gather key information as it's available to us. The first 5 minutes are not the time to figure out roles. It's the time to execute them. So you want to get your roles figured out before you need them. Step 4 is to control access whenever needed. Now, let's be clear. This step isn't for every emergency. It's for specific high-risk situations. If there's a violent threat, an attempted abduction, or something that's escalating into like a danger category, then yes, controlling access becomes absolutely essential. Controlling access might look like securing your children's church hallways. It might mean that you're locking down outside doors, or and especially classrooms. It also might look like you're stationing people at entry points and exit points. You're not trying to lock everyone in or create fear, but you're trying to protect your people that are already inside and limit exposure to whatever the threat is. In lower risk emergencies like medical issues or minor disruptions, controlling access might not always be needed. So you don't want to jump to lockdown mode unless the situation absolutely calls for it. Now, step 5, call for backup. That's internally and externally. One of the biggest mistakes churches make is waiting too long to call for help. If someone collapses and is unresponsive, call 911. If someone becomes aggressive or they're threatening, call law enforcement. If a child goes missing, notify your team and get help moving as fast as you can. And call 911. I know a lot of people always wonder about, especially with Code Adam, should we call 911? What if the kids just kind of wandered into a hallway or into a closet? It's always better to call 911 too early than to call too late.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Internally, this also means alerting your pastors, your elders, and your key leaders. Don't wait until it gets worse. Call early, act fast, communicate clearly. Now that we've got those 5 steps out of the way, let's walk through 3 real-world examples to see how this might play out. Scenario 1, a medical emergency in the sanctuary. A man in the 4th row slumps forward mid-worship. A nearby team member radios, medical, front left of sanctuary. Immediately, a CPR certified responder is going to the emergency. Another person is grabbing the AED machine. Somebody else is stepping outside to greet the EMS that should be arriving momentarily. Your media team is going to know to bring the volume down a notch, and whoever might be on camera, make sure this emergency isn't on camera. It's not so much an issue of accountability. We're just trying to make sure this person gets to maintain whatever modesty they have. Remember, in a heart attack situation, there's a good chance we might be having to cut the clothes off so that we can use the AED machine. And we want to help maintain whatever modesty they have. So there's no panic here. There's no screaming, just trained, intentional, professional action. Our second scenario is a suspicious person in the lobby. It's mid-service. A man in a long coat is pacing around in the lobby. He's mumbling to himself. He's glancing around nervously. And side note, it's summer. So why is he wearing this long jacket?
Doesn't make sense, does it?
Maybe a greeter noticed him first. And that's one side note is I love engaging my greeters, my ushers, anybody that wants to come to our security training. We offer it. We open it up because if all I have on my security team is my security team, then I'm limiting myself. If I can teach my greeters and my ushers how to maintain situational awareness, man, that's just increasing our availability and our efficiency. So this greeter is going to get a hold of a security team member and say, hey, we've got a problem. This guy, a potential problem in the side lobby. Then that guy says, hey, we've got a code gray side lobby. A trained team member walks up and calmly starts a conversation, just a friendly conversation. This isn't an interrogation. This is the church actually being the church. Again, we're not assuming anything here. We're just being aware. We're not being judgmental. We're being observational. We're using teamwork and professionalism to make sure our people are safe. Scenario number 3, we've got a missing child that's been reported. A parent approaches a team member. They're crying. They're saying their 6-year-old little girl isn't where she's supposed to be. The volunteer radios, hey, we've got a code Adam. It's a girl. She's 6 years old. She was wearing a pink dress. She was last seen at check-ins. All exits immediately get covered. Team members start searching bathrooms and classrooms. One person checks on the cameras, just looking to see if they happen to see this little girl where she could have been. Somebody else stays with the parent, keeps them calm and keeps them informed as everything unfolds. It's a fast moving response that's based in training, not on guesswork. And that's what separates your volunteer team from a lot of other teams that are just guessing and making it up as they go along. That's what makes you professional and makes everybody else amateur. Now, if you want your church to be ready for any emergency, you need to train for the first 5 minutes. You need to run scenario drills. You need to walk your building, practice your communication protocols. Make sure your team knows their roles and what they're supposed to be doing and when they're supposed to be doing them. If you train for the first 5, you're going to build muscle memory. You're going to reduce your panic and you're going to protect your people. You may not be able to prevent every emergency, but you can prevent those emergencies from becoming disasters. If this episode helped you think differently about church safety, hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of the content that we upload right here. And one more thing, share this with your pastor or share it with a security team leader at your church. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you in the next one.